Is 45 billion not enough?
Nope.
Not enough? How much more should we give to Ukraine instead of our own people? Should the U.S. send $1 trillion of our taxpayer money to Ukraine? $1 trillion?
This is the least expensive
What about 2 trillion?
method of ensuring democracy globally.
$1 trillion? Is there any limit?
There's no, it's not close to $1 trillion.
If Ukraine is a democracy, why did Zelensky ban all opposition media and 13 political parties? No, I'm not. I'm not paid by Moscow.
Yeah, that's great.
Senator, do you know how many billions we've sent to Ukraine?
We're going to send a lot more.
Yeah, you want to send more?
Oh, absolutely. I'm all in. I'm all in.
You're all in?
Yeah.
Do you,
okay, what you got?
do you have
guys?
any problem with Zelensky banning every opposition party?
What's that? Bring the bag.
Senator, how do we know where the weapons are going?
Meet me at the. Just meet me at the. In the well there. You know, in the bottom where you come in.
Senator, how do we know where the weapons are going? They've been showing up in Africa and Lake Chad, according to the Nigerian president. Do you support any measure to track the weapons?
Carriage interest. Meet me there, okay?
Why isn't the money going here where there are homeless encampments surrounding the U.S. Capitol, Senator Manchin?
All right, guys, so we got to talk about Volodymyr Zelensky, the president of Ukraine, who came to visit us here in America and begged the the politicians, the U.S. politicians, for more money, okay? Because apparently the billions and billions of dollars that we have contributed to Ukraine in their war against Russia is not enough. In fact, our politicians have come out and told us that nothing will ever be enough and that we're going to fund this Ukrainian-Russian war until something happens that I don't think that a lot of these politicians have thought about in regards to what it actually means or the end goal of this war. And I want to talk about that because that is something that nobody's talking about. But again, I want to show you just how cringe and just how cucked the United States looked in Congress when you got this guy, Volodymyr Zelensky, who, by the way, I hope Ukraine pulls it out, right? I hope that they can successfully defend against the Russians. But to what end is the question here? But regardless, he's in Congress and, you know, we're about to give him $45 billion more dollars. And he's saying that basically that's not enough. And at one point, we hold up the Ukrainian flag in Congress, more visible than the American flag. And he's also kissing Nancy Pelosi. No, I'm not kidding. That's what happened in Congress last night. Take a look.
So here is the front line. The tyranny which has no lack of cruelty against the lives of free people. And your support is crucial, not just to stand in such fight, but to get to the turning point to win on the battlefield. We have artillery. Yes. Thank you. We have it. Is it enough? Honestly, not really. To ensure Bakhmut is not just a stronghold that holds back the Russian army, but for the Russian army to completely pull out, more cannons and shells are needed. If so, just like the Battle of Saratoga, the fight for Bakhmut will change the trajectory of our war for independence and for freedom. If your patriots stop the Russian terror against our cities, it will let Ukrainian patriots work to the full to defend our freedom.
Yeah, so I don't know what's more gross, right? Zelensky kissing Nancy Pelosi, which had been a terrible experience for him. But hey, you know, for $45 billion, I guess I would kiss Nancy Pelosi as well too. Who knows? I'm just saying, right? Everybody has a price, okay? But I'm not sure if that is more embarrassing than having another nation's flag be flown in our capital. I don't care what country it is. I think the only flag that should be flown in our capital, in our Congress, is the American flag. Okay, now I get it. You know, you have diplomatic trips and, you know, people come over and maybe you'll throw up their flag or something like that. Fine. But when we're talking about somebody giving a speech in Congress, a leader of a foreign nation, and we're throwing up their flag like, you know, we gangbanging for them or something like that, which I guess we are, right? Yeah, I'm just uncomfortable with that. I don't like that. Okay, we look like Ukraine is the more powerful country and not us. Okay, and I'm not cool with that. Okay. Now here's the thing. I do understand the support for the war. I understand. I get it. You know, Ukraine has a ton of natural resources. Mainly when we're talking about grain exports, corn, stuff like that. Like, I get it, right? Global food supplies they were affected by this war. I think that the exports from Ukraine have returned back to pre-war levels because they've done much better than anybody expected in regards to fighting back against the Russians. But I get that. I get the whole natural resource argument. I get the energy transportation argument, how Ukraine plays a role in that. But let's keep it 100, right? I mean, that's not the real reason, okay? Part of the reason is that. And then you also have the military-industrial complex getting their stimulus check, which is something I talked about yesterday when McConnell came out and said that Ukraine is our #1 priority. You know, every stimulus package that we send to Ukraine basically goes to American defense contractors, right? And then they turn around and give campaign donations back to the politicians. That's just kind of how it works. So we need a war to fund. After the Afghanistan war was ended, the defense contractors like, bro, we need another war, right? We need another war that we can fund, right? Okay, we need to get our money. We need to get our paper, okay? And that's just kind of how it goes. Again, these politicians are prostitutes, okay? They're prostitutes. But you know, in the grand scheme of things, this is really about Western imperialism. It's about the East versus the West, okay? It's about pushing back against Russia, making sure that they don't have too much influence in Ukraine, having Ukraine be on our side, maybe try to join NATO, maybe be, you know, more involved in Europe or whatever. And that has been going on for years now, okay? I mean, that's what happened with the revolution in Ukraine, which kind of what led to Putin deciding to take Crimea. That's what's been going on. But I just wish all these politicians would stop all this cap, right? Cap means lying or exaggerating. I wish they would stop lying and exaggerating about the real reasons, okay? Just be upfront about it. The real reasons is because basically we want Ukraine to be ours. We don't really care about it being a sovereign nation, anything like that, right? We don't care if the leaders in that country are oppressing their own people. We don't care about that. All we care about is them doing what we say and being a useful tool for us against Russia. Mainly that, you know, hey, we now have another country that's on our side, that's right at Russia's borders, and we can park our nukes there, we can park our military there, and we can be much closer to, you know, taking out Putin in Moscow. That's what they actually really want. Just be upfront about it. Okay, all this democracy stuff is just it's just annoying. Okay, and I think Tucker Carlson brought up a great point, which is what is the end goal of all this? Like, what is going to happen at the end of all this? And have the politicians thoroughly thought about what that might mean?
As far as we know, no one's ever addressed the United States Congress in a sweatshirt before, but they love him much more than they love you. Welcome to Tucker Carlson's Night. Remember when Sam Bankman-Fried showed up in Washington wearing a T-shirt and spouting nonsense, and all the self-described geniuses declared him a hero? The media, the Congress, the White House, they all love this weird little guy called Sam Bankman-Fried. Do you remember that? Somehow we were reminded of it today when the president of Ukraine arrived at the White House dressed like the manager of a strip club and started to demand money. Amazingly, no one threw him out. Instead, they did whatever he wanted. American taxpayers declared Joe Biden will continue to give Zelensky whatever he demands for, quote, as long as it takes. Tellingly, Biden never specified what it is, as long as it takes to do what? Push the Russian army back to pre-invasion borders? Sounds reasonable. That's what most Americans likely assume, those who are still paying attention. But that is not what Zelensky means, and it is not what he is asking for. Zelensky is demanding regime change in Russia, just like in Iraq and Libya and a long list of other failed states, except this time in the heart of the Eurasian landmass, next door to the entire civilized world. That's what Zelensky has called for repeatedly, and every dollar we send to him goes toward that end. And at this point, he's getting a lot closer to achieving it. So what happens if he, quote, wins? What does the ensuing chaos look like? Thought about that? Who's going to secure the world's largest nuclear arsenal once we help Zelensky topple the Russian government? Who replaces Putin? Strangely, those topics did not come up today, because that wasn't the point. The point of today's visit to Washington was not to make the world more stable or make wise decisions, much less to help America. That's always at the bottom of the list. The point was to fawn over the Ukrainian strip club manager and hand him billions more dollars from our own crumbling economy. It is hard, in fact, it may be impossible to imagine a more humiliating scenario for the greatest country on earth.
Now, I got to issue a small correction from Tucker Carlson's monologue here, just to be fair. Zelensky did say as a requirement for peace talks with Russia that Putin be ousted as leader of Russia, which is, again, a complete non-starter, right? I mean, basically, you want Putin to step down in order for you to actually have peace talks. That is crazy. But he appears to have backed off that demand. However, I think what Tucker Carlson is getting at here is important, which is that the politicians aren't really being upfront about what their end goal actually is, what they actually want to happen and what that means, which is they want Putin to no longer be the leader of Russia. And they want that by any means necessary. If you don't believe me, just listen to Lindsey Graham, who's willing to do anything for Ukraine to get what they want in regards to Putin no longer being the leader of Russia by any means necessary.
To what extent do you believe this country should continue to aid Ukraine in this fight?
Completely all in, without equivocation. If Putin dismembers Ukraine, he will not stop. China is more likely to go into Taiwan. The world will unravel, and no domestic problem gets better here at home, allowing Putin to destroy Ukraine. Quite the opposite. If you can stop Putin in Ukraine, China will probably rethink invading Taiwan, and the world will be a better place. Nobody's dying over here, no American soldiers. We're spending money, but it's being spent at a good cause, the cause of freedom. So I'm all in, whatever they need, as long as they need it.
So when you say all in, Senator, would you agree to give Zelensky what he says he wants, which is the long-range attack him, artillery missiles? Would you give him Gray Eagle drones? Would you give him Reaper drones? You give him all that?
I would give him the ability to dislodge Russians from his country. Right now, the Biden administration has done more, and I appreciate doing more, but not the offensive capability to dislodge the Russians from the east, particularly Crimea. So the longer-range weapons would hurt the Russian military more effectively. The drones would be the biggest game changer. If you had these large Reaper gray drones, you would kill tons of Russians without losing any Ukrainians in the endeavor and change the tide of battle. The Biden administration just can't quite embrace victory for Ukraine. I can.
What do you want to see come from this meeting today, Senator?
Well, I want the administration to up their game and give the Ukrainians the capability to go on the offense more effectively to end the war on terms favorable to Ukraine and us. Here's the problem. There's no off-ramp for this war. Somebody's going to win and somebody's going to lose. How does this war end? When Russia breaks and they take Putin out. Anything short of that, the war is going to continue. To ask the Ukrainians to give Russia part of their country after all this death and destruction is not going to happen. To signal a ceasefire, Russia will take the opportunity to rearm and come at them again. So we're in it to win it, and the only way you're going to win it is to break the Russian military and have somebody in Russia take Putin out to give the Russian people a new lease on life.
Yeah, so here we are once again, a sitting senator of the United States calling for the assassination of a world leader, okay, Putin. Okay, so he's telling you exactly what the end goal is here. The end goal is to take out Putin. And they're willing to spend an unlimited amount of money to do it, okay? I want you guys to understand, this is what's going on here. The defense contractors who, you know, sign the politicians' checks, they give them the campaign funds, right? They get paid, okay? They benefit. But then also this war in Ukraine, you know, despite the loss of life, despite people losing a lot of stuff like that, despite the fact that we know that Zelensky's not as pro-democracy as these people are trying to make him out to be, we don't care about that because, again, this is the one opportunity that we have to finally take out Putin. This is the way the politicians are seeing it, right? This is the old, again, East versus West, right? We got to take out Putin. As long as he's leader, we didn't win. It's not ending on favorable terms because this is the best opportunity we have, and we're willing to spend an unlimited amount of money to do it, an unlimited amount of money. However, these people don't seem to have learned from the past, our past mistakes in Afghanistan, in Libya, and Iraq, where we take out a leader and we have a vacuum, right, a power vacuum that is there that is going to be filled by somebody that could possibly be worse than the last guy. How do you know that if Lindsey Graham gets what he wants, somebody has the cojones to assassinate Putin, that person is not going to be even more ruthless or more evil than Putin? You don't know that. You have no clue. That person might be actually willing to use nukes. He might be willing to go further than Putin. Sometimes you got to be careful what you ask for, and you think we would learn our lesson, but no, we haven't learned. These politicians, because they never seen a war, that they don't want to go fight, even though they don't have any people to go fight, even though Lindsey Graham in this case doesn't have any sons to go send to fight this war, or, you know, he's not losing anything. He's rich. He's fine. You know, he doesn't care. This is what they do, right? This is what happens. They see this as an opportunity to take out Putin, and they're going to spend an unlimited amount of our taxpayer dollars to do it, right? And Zelensky is their little puppet that they're using in order to do that, right? That's just kind of what's happening. So let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.